Fantastic.
Okay, hi everyone. So we are here. We are back. If you tried to join in about 10 minutes ago, we had technical difficulties. Of
So
course,
sorry.
there's always something, but we just stayed calm and we changed up our technology and now it works. So we're super excited for you to join us here today. We have the incredible Mel Vandersluis joining us. So I met Mel earlier this year when I was in Nicaragua on this incredible retreat. And she is just like a ray of sunshine. She already owned a business called By Melanie Andre, where she sells beautiful crystal bracelets. And then while we were there, she was teaching us all about Lightroom presets, and she was obsessed with them. They were her hobby. She was just like so great at using them to make her pictures look amazing. And she was like, I think I kind of want to launch a Lightroom preset store. So she launched it and she had an incredible launch and she's had an incredible time with it ever since. And so I thought I would bring her on to Yes Apply and just share some of her tips with you, share how she got the confidence to launch it and what she went through, and any tips that you guys need for launching your own Shopify store or just starting a business in general. Mel is an amazing person and I know she's going to be an amazing mentor. So I just thought we'd bring her on here and get her to share her story with you about how she turned her passion into a business. And then if there's any questions, guys, leave the questions below and we'll be sure to answer them. So Mel, how are you?
I'm really good. I'm so glad we figured out our little technical glitch.
I knew we would, or we would just like reschedule it or something like that.
We carried on, pressed on.
We carried on, keep calm and carried on. So do you want to share with us a little bit about you and who you are?
Sure. So I am a travel photographer and content creator. I am kind of stationed in Montreal, but I'm traveling quite a bit. So my job is basically to take brands all over the world and create content / pictures for them. And I also own, I guess, multiple businesses at this point in time. So I have Melanie Audrey, which is a bracelet business, like you were saying. And I just launched my preset business, and it's been awesome. It's been great.
So cool. I'd love to hear like what got you started with Lightroom presets? Like what was the obsession? How did you even get into it?
Okay, so it kind of started with Instagram. So I was building my Instagram account, and I was taking travel pictures, and I was editing everything on my phone. And that was massively convenient. But a lot of companies, when I started working with them, wanted professional photos. And I couldn't edit professional photos on my phone. I had to figure out a better way. And so that kind of led me into Lightroom. And when I started with Lightroom, I'm going to say about like 6 or 8 months ago, I absolutely hated it. It was so complicated. It was so overwhelming. And so I'm completely self-taught in Lightroom. I went on YouTube and found like several YouTube videos to kind of teach me about it. And that was great. And it took me about maybe like 2 or 3 months to really get the hang of it and find an aesthetic I really enjoyed using. And once I started using that, people were asking me, like, what are you editing with? And, like, how are you editing your photos? They're so nice. And so that was kind of the beginning of thinking about selling presets before I even knew it was a thing to do. But nowadays, like tons of Instagrammers who have like that specific aesthetic are selling their presets because, people really like it.
Oh, that's so awesome. But that must have been a scary leap to go from just sharing or creating your own to sharing them. So how did that kind of go from first deciding that you wanted to sell them all the way to launching?
So it was really hard because at first I was kind of thinking, well, maybe I should just keep the aesthetic my own and maybe not share it with people. And if I did go the other route and started sharing with people, would people even like them? Would they hate them? Could I deal with that kind of failure? And then I met you and was talking to you and Tracy and Kat, and everyone kind of said the same thing where it was like, you've got something really special here and you should just like jump in and do it, and you should sell it to people, and you've got an amazing product. So I think it was kind of like a fearful thing at the beginning, and then once I believed that what I was creating was actually a great product that could potentially really help people, I just kind of dove in and didn't have any more thoughts about it. It was just like, let's just go and see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. Because like you actually showed me how to use Lightroom. I think I had bought Lightroom before, downloaded it before. I opened it up and there were so many buttons. I was like, no, I'm not using this. I'm just going to use ViscoCam.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's so many people that want to make their pictures look like yours, for their personal brand or for work like what you're doing, and they just don't really know how. So I feel like by using those presets, you're giving them like the shortcut to get there. And then they kind of match and make it their own if they want to, but they're not starting completely from scratch.
Yeah, I think if anything, like from this experience, it's been that people have really taken the presets and made them their own, which is something that I really enjoyed seeing, because as much as I love my presets, I don't think that people should just kind of slap it on. I think they should make their own adjustments to kind of make it, their own aesthetic. But I think it's a good starting base. But the one thing that I wanted to do differently was to create videos on how to use them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of I didn't want people to just spend that kind of money and then not have any support or any know-how on how to use it, especially if they don't know much about Lightroom anyways.
Yeah.
So I opened up a YouTube channel that wasn't really doing much, and I put up some video tutorials on just how to use Lightroom and also how to use the presets that I sell.
That's amazing. So you talked a little bit about how you had fear and fear of failure, and you're not alone with that. I know I definitely had that feeling when I was first starting my brand, and I see it in the Yes Supply Collective and even in just women that I talk to, that they have these big dreams, these things that they want to accomplish, but then it's like, oh, what if I fail? What will people think? So what did you do to overcome the fear?
I definitely needed some awesome support. And, having the support of my friends and family was a huge thing. But honestly, I think we get too caught up in our heads thinking about all the things that could go wrong. And I think if we just kind of say, like 1, 2, 3, go, and just do it, then it'll actually happen. And then you can see whether it's going to be a success or whether it's going to be a failure. But I think the fear of failing kind of got me at first. And then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And if it fails, it fails. But at least I'll have tried. And I think that's better than just kind of putting it on the back burner and it never happening.
100%. I totally agree with that too, because I remember when I first started Yes Apply too, first off, I bought the domain. And then I barely did anything with it for a whole year because I was so afraid. I was so shy back then. I didn't know what people would think of me, and I had all this limiting self-talk. And then also I didn't know that this kind of brand or anything, I didn't know the coaching industry even existed. And then one day, like, it just kept bugging me, kept following me, kept keeping me up at night. And one day I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. And best case scenario, it turns into everything that I ever wanted it to. And worst case scenario, it's a really cool, like, kind of portfolio and display of what I can do, and gives me the opportunity to like see what I'm made of. And
totally.
Enough, it turned into the best case scenario. But I have a feeling that like once you start and you get the ball rolling, as long as you don't give up, it's going to eventually turn into the best case scenario too, right? Like I'm sure for you, you launched and it was super successful, but even if it wasn't, then maybe you would have done Lightroom tutorials and sold those. I'm sure you would have found a way to make it work for you. It's just a matter of starting.
For sure. I think that there was definitely a need for it. I think more and more people are getting into photography and working with brands that kind of want that kind of photography. So I think I kind of got in when there was definitely a need for it. And that's, I find, one of the best. I'm sorry, I have like the straggler that's driving me crazy. I think that's kind of like the best way to start a business, is to think of like why you're doing it, and what it's going to serve for people, because they are going to be paying for something, and you want to make sure that something is really going to benefit them. So that's
100%.
kind of where my head went.
Cool. Amazing. So you mentioned too that you did some like tutorials on YouTube. Was that part of your launch strategy? Did you have a launch strategy, or did you kind of just follow your intuition?
So I wanted to come from a place of just like helping people. So I came from a place where I was like, I was so frustrated with Lightroom when I first started. I don't want people to feel the same. I want them to kind of be excited about it and, you know, enjoy editing their photos. So my thought was, okay, well, I'll start with tutorials, like before I came out with presets. So I'll start with just basic tutorials on Lightroom and just teach people how to use it. And then once I launch, I'll be able to do videos on using all those presets. So then that traffic kind of can translate over to the website. So there was a type of strategy where I wanted everything to be kind of set up in a way that supported people's purchases. And that was also on Instagram. So every time I'd edit a photo, I would show the before and after of the photo and then tell them which preset I used. And then they could swipe up to go and check out the website.
I love that. That's so incredible. And especially what you said, coming from a place of helping. I think that that's the big thing. A lot of people are like, how do I launch? How do I get sales? How do I grow my Instagram? How do I do this? How do I do that? It's like, I feel like if you go too far into just the strategy and how do I get and almost like how do I trick people into doing something, that's not the right way to do it. And same for me, like when I was starting Yes Supply, if I was stuck on what kind of content to put out or what video to put out, I would just ask myself, how can I love my audience today? And I felt like if I just did everything that I was doing from a place of love, if I would love what I was doing, I would feel really good and in integrity about what I was doing. And then people would feel that energy. And that also helped me get over my fear of going live on camera or putting my opinions out there, because I was like, you know what, I'm doing this from a good place. I'm doing it to help people. And so hopefully people will accept it and respond well to it. And for anyone who doesn't, they can go follow someone else. There's thousands of people to follow on the internet. Totally. So I love that. Another thing that I really like that you said too, that I think the audience, whoever's watching, can learn a lot from, is the fact that you gave out a lot of free value before you actually asked for the sale. And I think that's huge. And people will do that in a number of different ways. Like, for example, if you're growing your email list, you can have a freebie or a lead magnet opt-in in order for someone to be on your email list and then sell through your email list. It seems like you did it without the email list, just using YouTube, but that's incredible too. It does, like, as much as growing an email list is valuable, and I'm a huge proponent of it, as long as you're connecting with people and making it in a way that they can constantly stay in touch with you and be updated on you, and then you're giving this free value and then saying, hey, if you like it, here's more in my paid product, people are not going to be resistant to purchasing from you because they already know, like, and trust you.
Right, exactly.
100%. That's so cool. So how many presets do you have?
So I have 3 packs. They are all inspired by different places I've been to, because as I was editing photos from different places, they all have such different, like different views and different foliage. So I ended up making 3 different packs. And it seems like every time I travel, there's always one more that I can come out with. So that's been fun. But yeah, so far there's 3.
That's so awesome. And I'd love to hear about, how is your experience with setting up the actual Shopify store? Because again, a lot of people who want to start a business, they're like, oh, I really want to, but I don't know how. So was it your first time? Did you learn as you go? Like, did you use any tools to get yourself there?
So I already use Shopify for Melanie Audrey. And I've been using that shop for 4 years. So I'm quite well versed in Shopify, but for anyone who isn't, it's not super complicated. Shopify is so user-friendly. It took me, I think, maybe just like a few hours to set it up. I think I bought the domain because I was in a space where I was like, okay, I have time. Let's just do this. And that was like right after Nicaragua. I was like, okay, I'm like ready. I'm like ready to dive in. And I sat at my computer. I was like, okay, I need a domain. So I got the domain. I figured out the name, and then I opened up Shopify. I was like, Kate, new store. And within like a few hours, I had everything set up.
What? That's amazing.
It was really easy. It's a lot easier than people think.
Yeah. pretty good return on investment for a few hours of setting up a store. And of course, there's so much more that goes into it, launching and making your presets. But you're such a perfect example of not necessarily, you know, having all the time in the world or not knowing all the tech doesn't have to be an issue because you learned it with your previous store, and you set it up in a few hours.
That's it. Easy.
Amazing. How do you find that having your other online business by Melody Audrey has helped you launch the second one now?
How's it helped, like, just in general?
Yeah, like, is there any learnings, any knowledge, any that your previous experience made you more confident going into this?
So definitely in terms of marketing. So in terms of Facebook ads and how to market the product was a huge learning for me. So I only got into Facebook ads maybe a couple of years ago with Melanie Audrey, and that was a huge thing. I didn't realize how much there was to learn about Facebook ads and like how they really work. But once I kind of figured it out, I was doing some, you know, research on my own, like looking on like YouTube or blogs, and I learned a ton. So with this business, I got into Facebook ads right away. And I've seen a huge return on investment. So I'm investing $5 a day into Facebook ads. And what I did learn about Facebook ads is that people just like to be a little bit more stimulated. So video ads are usually what does the best. And so I turned like all of my before and after pictures into a video and had that be the ad. And it's been viewed. Actually, let me see if I can find it. But it's been viewed like thousands and thousands of times. And it's just, I think it's costing me like a penny per view or a penny per click or something, like something insane.
Amazing.
Yeah, but that was a huge learning for me.
That's amazing. Would you say that the niche that you're in is competitive, or do you think that it's kind of like it's not as competitive, there's not as many people doing what you're doing?
I think it's getting there. I think more and more people are seeing a benefit in terms of I mean, I think bloggers, Instagrammers, like everyone in that niche is looking for different ways that could sustain their business. And so selling presets is definitely like one way to do that, to, you know, to make like an extra income on the side for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm just really impressed by those low price point clicks.
Oh, it's bananas.
Industry has something to do with it, so I'm just curious about the photography.
So it's reached 125,000 people.
What?
And
that's amazing.
I think 22,000 clicks. Yeah, I'm just looking at it now.
That is 120. You're famous, pretty much.
With Facebook ads, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I see a question here from Chloe Greenwell. She's asking, when you set up your Shopify store, did you have an EIN? Or were you starting as Shopify's just having fun option? EIN, I feel like that means a business number. But
I think it is a business number. Yeah. I'm just doing a quick search, but I'm pretty sure it is. Employer identification number. So I'm pretty sure with Shopify, you have the option to be a sole proprietor. I just went through a process with them, like this week, actually. They were asking me to identify myself and give them my like tax numbers. So if you are going to be making like over 30,000 a year, it's definitely the best to have your tax numbers, because that will definitely help you in the long run. But for me, since I had Melanie Audrey, everything is kind of being funneled into that business right now. So it's just like one tax number, not like 3 different businesses. It's just one business. And then all of my photography stuff is being filtered through that business.
Yeah. So guys, by the way, we are not lawyers. So talk to a lawyer, talk to somebody who you can ask specifically about all the techie stuff of your business. So Mel's absolutely right. We're in Canada, and so you can operate as a sole proprietor for the most part up till $30,000. But whatever country you're in, it's going to be completely different. So definitely call your local.
Yeah. Talk to your accountant.
Yeah, talk to your accountant or call someone locally so you can find out for you. So we want all of you guys to operate in a legal manner.
And not have any problems.
Yeah, no, you definitely don't. So yeah, a lot of times the government will actually have like a hotline that you can call and you can ask like little tax questions like that, and it makes your life a lot easier. Amazing. So I wanted to ask you, do you have any advice for somebody who's new, who wants to launch their own online business, maybe selling digital products? Like definitely. Most important thing someone need to know.
Okay. I would say definitely, so definitely find the right platform that's good for you. For the most part, I recommend Shopify to everybody because, you know, this is like a small business and they deal with like any business from super small to really big. So finding a platform that's good for you, and then just doing your research on what apps that you should be using to sell your digital products. Because for me anyways, I didn't want people to have like an unlimited amount of times that they could download these presets. So I wanted to find an add-on that I could kind of limit that access. And that did take me some time to kind of look up to see which ones would be best for me. So definitely putting in the research, and also using like Facebook ads for marketing is super cheap, especially if you do the research to do it properly. It can reach like a whole global audience, because that's the best thing about digital products is that it can be totally global. Anywhere in the world can purchase them. And people still have Facebook all over the world. So those would be my go-to tips.
I love those. For digital downloads, I know there's one called, I think it's called just digital downloads on Shopify.
Yeah, that's what I'm using.
That's what you used? Yeah, that one seems pretty good.
Yeah, there were other ones that you either had to pay for that came with all these like other fancy options. But I mean, if you don't need the fancy options, then there's no need to pay money for them. Yeah,
no, exactly. And it's so great having digital products because it just gives you so much freedom, right? You can keep traveling and essentially just like knowing that you're getting that money in the bank and your customers are getting their products like that. So you kind of do all the work up front, but then the payoff can last for months and years.
For sure.
Amazing. So I think that that's all of the questions. If anyone else has questions, you can just leave them below, and you can even leave them after the live stream, and we'll be answering them for the next 24 hours. So Mel, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been so amazing picking your brain, hearing
Thanks
about
for having me.
Yeah, no, it was super cool. I've always loved hanging out and talking with you. I'd love for everybody who's watching to find out where they can find you.
Okay, so you can find me. I wish I could. Can I type in here somewhere? Or maybe you can just do it after the broadcast.
Yeah, I can type it in.
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram. That's where I am most of the time. So Vandersluis. And I mean, that's the main source. So if you can find me on Instagram, then you can find me.
Anywhere?
Anywhere.
All right. And you're all over the world, so they'll find you.
Yeah. You can message me, DM me, whatever you want.
Okay. Well, honestly, thank you so much for coming here, letting us hear all about how you launched, your thought processes, how you got over the fear. I totally love that. Sometimes you just have to do it regardless of the fear. And yeah, thank you so much for joining the Yes Supply community. And we really, really appreciate you sharing how you only took yes for an answer.
Thanks, Reese. So nice to chat with you.
All right. Bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Talk soon.